And South Korea's presidential office has revealed plans to mediate between North Korea and the US to help them narrow their differences and ensure that their June 12th summit in Singapore goes ahead and is a success. There have been fears the meeting might be called off after the North suddenly cancelled those high-level inter-Korean talks with Seoul earlier this week, citing those aerial military drills. Our Cheongwadae correspondent Moon Connyoung with this report.
Breaking its day-long silence since North Korea abruptly called off a high-level dialogue within hours the scheduled time and threatened to pull out of next month's historic summit between its leader Kim Jong-un and U.S. President Donald Trump. South Korea's presidential Blue House said it'll actively perform the role of a mediator to bridge the gap between the two as they appear to have some difference in stance.
The members of the National Security Council Standing Committee decided to closely coordinate through various channels between South Korea and the US and South and North Korea so that the upcoming North Korea-US summit will be held successfully in the manner of mutual respect.
President Moon is traveling to the U.S. next week for a bilateral summit with his U.S. counterpart, during which a Blue House official said the South Korean president plans to convey what he and his chief aides have discerned about Pyongyang's position and attitude, and vice versa upon return from a U.S. trip. The Blue House and President Moon's key security officials do believe, however, that both North Korea and the U.S. are still serious and sincere about making the June 12th summit happen, and Seoul intends to continue discussions with Pyongyang to hold high-level talks that it canceled on Wednesday.
Members of the NSC Standing Committee reaffirmed their stance that the Panmunjom Declaration reached at the April 27 Inter-Korean Summit must be carried out without any disruption and agreed to continue consulting with the North to hold the high-level talks at an early date.
As important and symbolic the April Inter-Korean Summit was to the South Korean president and his team, it's actually the North Korea-U.S. summit that the president has placed his bet on in realizing peace and denuclearization process on the Korean peninsula. So it seems that the South Korean president, who's basically laid the groundwork up until this point, couldn't just sit back and watch Pyongyang and Washington drift any further and away from this hard-won opportunity. Moon Connyoung, Arirang News, the Blue House.